Hello people, Old-Time Gentleman here again for another video on handwriting repair. Hopefully by now you've seen the other two videos. If you haven't, please check them out. Today what we'll be looking at is minuscule letters, so lowercase. What I want to do first, and that's why I have this pencil instead of my fountain pen, is I'm going to walk you through guidelines, what they're made of and what they're for. So guidelines are really important as you get to start learning how to write, because they force you to have a really consistent handwriting, which is a good part of what good handwriting is about. I tried to print some guidelines off, but as we all know, if printers worked, the world would be a much more peaceful place. So I've got my lined paper here, and I'm going to use this to walk you through what guidelines are about. Right, so there are loads of horizontal lines that you'll find, but the two most important ones are the baseline, which is usually the one that's in bold, because it's the one all your lowercase and uppercase letters will stem from. That's like the floor, the letter floor. So the baseline. And then there's another line just on top of it that's called the header line. What this is it's going to be the top of most of your minuscule letters. And the difference in height between these two is called the X height. It's really easy to remember because most of the guidelines you'll print off will have a massive X here to tell you this is the X height. Then you have some less important lines, which are the ascender line and the descender line. These are really far away. They should be kind of like this. What ascenders and descenders are, they're the small part that goes either up or down. So for example, if you go for an L, you'll go up more than you would in another letter, so let's say an E, right? So that's an ascender, because it goes over most of the other letters. For descender, it's the same thing in reverse. So you'll have a P, for example. See, it goes under the E, right? So once you get the guidelines right, another thing you might notice on guidelines, by the way, I'm going to give you some links where you can either create your own if you really want to get into specifics, or print off already made guidelines from the IMPEF website. And it's got some really good guidelines for Spencerian, but you really have to look for one with slant in it. What's slant? It's these weird kind of diagonal strokes that go usually at 55 degrees, at a 55 degrees angle. And what they are is they give you how much of an italic you should have on your letters. So what most of us have been taught, or at least what we're taught in France, because that's the French way of writing letters, is no slant at all. So the letters are perfectly perpendicular to the baseline. What this means is you'll write an L like this, and for example for A you write like this. It looks kind of boring, and not only that, but it makes everything a lot harder to write, because it's a lot easier to write an A, LA for example. If you go like this, it's a lot harder than just going like this. You know, because you're kind of throwing the letter as you go along, which helps with quick writing. So the slant helps you with that. It gives you exactly the kind of angle your writing should be at. So if you're, as I said last time, if you're left-handed, you've got to look for your arm should be in line with that slant, so that kind of line. One thing they don't tell you about guidelines, and no one does, and it's really confusing, is that the slant line only applies to vertical lines. What I mean by that, and that's something that took me, many weeks to understand why my letters just look wrong. It's anything that doesn't go on a vertical line but goes horizontally, you must make at a perfect horizontal. For example, if I draw a T here, the way to cross the T is not to go perpendicular with that line. So you would write like this and it looks crooked. But you've got to make it parallel to the baseline. It's going to be a lot more complicated and less easy to guess once you get to the majuscules, so uppercase letters. For example, a T in uppercase. You can see that the cross of the T is perfectly parallel to this baseline, and then you draw the rest of the letters. So what I used to do was this, and I was like, that looks wrong, but I don't know why. It's because the slant line only applies to vertical lines. Horizontal lines just follow whatever the header of the baseline. Right, so now we're going to take a look really quickly at the strokes. Why? Because the Palmer method, just like Spencerian, is about making the script easier and faster to write. So basically they try to really reduce the script to as little number of strokes possible as they could. Wait, that makes no sense, never mind. So basically what's Spencer in his the Spencer brothers in their book Practical Penmanship tell you is the whole script is based on this stroke, which goes exactly parallel to the slant, right? Then you have this stroke, which starts up kind of horizontal and then goes with the slant. You get the same stroke on the other way around. And then you've got this weird stroke that's an L, which I would argue is just this one followed by this one. And that's all the strokes you use. Though I would say that's all the strokes for each letter. But to link two letters together, you're going to have to use the same strokes that is either this one or this one, just a lot longer. So some guidelines, though they look really weird like this, have another slant line like this. Basically what this means is if you write a letter, let's say L, and then you go for an E, because you don't want to do this here and have the letters really close together, you're going to have the L, and then you're going to kind of throw using that stroke but a lot longer. So instead of doing this, you're going to do this to go into the second letter and then finish the second letter and then throw it again. And when you go for an A, for example, you're going to use that stroke but a lot longer. So as you go for an A, you use that stroke like this, and then you write your A. So basically this stroke and this stroke are almost the same stroke, but this one is made a lot longer so it can connect the two letters without looking completely weird. It might not make a lot of sense right now, but as we get to write words, it'll make a lot more sense. Now, something really fun you might want to do, it's not fun at all, is doing drill exercises. In the Palmer method book, you've got at least 40 of them. And I'm going to walk you through the important ones. The first one is the I drill. So just write this one, followed by this one, followed by this one, followed by this one. So you go like this. So this long that finishes with the slant. Then you go down with the slant. So let's say right now we've got a slant like this. Right? Go up, go down with the slant. You have to, when you go from one stroke to another, try to make it a little curly but not too much. So you don't do like this, but you don't do like this either. So you end up doing like this, go with the slant, have that small curve, go back up, go with the slant, small curve, back up with the slant. What this will get you is it's going to get you just that stroke. which is used a lot. So you have U, you have loads of letters that use exactly that stroke. If you can get it perfectly, and most of all, and that's the point of drills, if you can get it quickly, so if you can just do like this and have really nice drills, that's going to really improve your writing, especially if you're looking at class notes. You've got to be really quick, you don't really have time for fancy things. Doing drill exercises at the beginning will help you with that. Then you have the exact same one, but the other way around. So that's an M, right? So you go up like this, then go down. It's the same stroke as this one. So you go down with the slant, then you go like this. What you look like, in the end, it's going to be like waves, you know. It's going to throw itself, go down with the slant, throw itself, go down with the slant, and you can go on like this. Another one which is going to be most important, first when looking at E, O, A, any letters that's kind of got this round look, is this one. This drill exercise. It's the most famous of all. Why? Because it actually looks like a drill, because that's a weird kind of drill. So what you do is basically you write an E on an L. So you go up like this. Then as you get to the top, you go down with the slant, but it's got to make it look, you don't want to make it look like this, right? You've got to curve back first and go down with the slant. And it looks like a round, but it's not round at all actually. It's more like a half round. You're going like this and then cutting it at the middle. You know, it's not a perfect round. You've got to make it look smooth, make it look like it's actually a round. So go like this with the slant and just go on like this. And obviously some of the more calligrapher type drills we go on to do just very close, and a lot of them you get pages of just that again and again and again. Another thing to look at is, and that's going to be especially good for Reddit because I know they love it. So you're going to write lo. Basically, it's the same word, it's the same strokes, it's the same way to do it, except this one has to be a lot longer than this one. Lo. Right? And try to do this as fast as you can without having it, as I'm doing, having it either go down like this or having this one just shorten as you go, or this one just get longer as you go. You got to get that consistency of both letters being completely separate from each other. You know, you can tell which one is an L and which one is an E, yet you have to write them as quickly as you can. I'm not a big fan of drills myself because they're really boring, but they really improve the writing. So I did that when I started, and it's worth it. Once you've done that, you've got to do the same drill as this one, but on the other way around. So you go up and down, and up and down. And what that's going to do in the end, when you do enough drill exercises, is it's going to get you some smooth lines, smooth curves, and it's going to help you your forearm move around instead of having your wrist move around. Right. So now if you let me get another piece of paper, I'm just going to just very dumbly walk you through the alphabet of the minuscule letters in the Palmer method and the Spencerian script method. Okay, so hopefully none of you just noticed that completely stealthy cut I just did. So right now we're going to look at, as I said, the alphabet. So I'm going to walk you through it now. There are many ways to do it. Usually what books do is they divide it in similar strokes, but it would be too much looking into that. So I'm just going to dumbly walk you through each letter one by one. So first the A, you've seen it already in the beginning of the video, is you throw that stroke around. I'm just going to rewrite the strokes used in Spencerian. right? Okay. We're gonna throw this one and then go down like this and go back up, and that's really hard to get, and it can never get it right. But you have to go back up at the tip of your first curve. So make sure to make your first curve long enough so that you notice it, you know. And then go back down with the slant. B is a lot. It's basically the same. I'm just going to do go up, go down, a lot like the L. That's basically an L, the base of it. And then you go back up and you do the loop, just like you've been taught in primary school. You've probably been taught in primary school to do a massive loop, a really noticeable loop. It's ugly, okay? Don't do that. Just do a small loop that looks like a dot, right? And then what you can do is just go down. It's not going to be horizontal, but it's going to be kind of slightly down. Then you get to the C. The C, what the Spencer brothers and Palmer would teach you is to do that. So basically go up and then have that small curve and go for the end of the C. But to me that looks like a really crooked E. So what I usually do is just do this. Right? So just go up that long stroke, like most letters, and then go like this. This ends up being with the slant at the end. It just kind of bumps the slant and goes back. D is pretty much like A. So you write an A, except that at the end, you're just going to have that long stroke up with the slant, right? E, we've seen already. Go up, go with the slant, try to make it look smooth. Spencer does not make it look smooth at all. He's more like this. But I like to make the top of the E look smooth. F is like an L, and then you go down, then you curve back. That's a really hard one to learn, and hard one to get it smooth. And like this. What Palmer also says is this, which is another completely acceptable way to do it. So just try to get the same curve as you go down and back up. But I like to do this curve, right? G, so you get that small round just like the A, and then go down, back up. This is a lot like L. This is the slant, and then you get it. So it's like an L, but the other way around. First you go with the slant, and then you smoothly get it back. H, so just like an L, and then you have that small bump, which is the one we saw with the drill. It's that kind of M-shaped thing that you get here, right? The I, we've seen it already with the drill exercises. J is basically an I, and then you go down with the slant, then you turn back, just like the G. K, there are two ways to do a K, so I'm going to teach you the coolest one. It's an L, and then at the end you take your pen out and you do this, which is kind of double crossing like this. I think it's the coolest looking of all, and most calligraphers would agree. L we've seen already. M we've seen already. So just try to get the top and bottom just a little smooth, so they look like you're throwing them around. But you can still, like here, you would see U's instead of an M. So try to get it, close together enough so that it looks like an M. N, like most scripts, is just a shorter version of the M, right? O is a lot like A, so you go like this, slowly down, and go back up. And then, as we said, try to have that small dot instead of a loop, and then go. Then the P actually has an ascender first. So it goes up just like an L, and then down. That's a Spencerian P. And then back up, and here you go. Like the end is like an M. It's an M drill. But don't forget that ascender. Why? Because it looks super cool. Q, it's another A-shaped letter, right? What Spencer would do for the end of a Q is go back and just show people that difference between the two, the stroke down and the stroke up. So you end up with a Q where you can actually see. Nope, I'm checking that you can actually see me writing as I'm talking. So you can actually see the stroke down and the stroke back up. There are two R's that you can do. It's this one, the one I use. So go up, small loop. It goes down kind of, I'd say kind of like you're writing a V shape, but the other way around. So go up, go down, and then go back with the slant. So you get this three, the first two here and here are parallel, basically they're the slants, and then you link them with that kind of loopy way. I've heard some complaint that this isn't really a beautiful R. So here's another R you can do that I never use. It's this one. It's basically like an F but smaller. As you go up, down, that's my X height. Up, down, cross it, and then have that kind of shape to remind yourself of an R, as most people would have learned in print, you know, as in Arial. S is a weird letter because it's got, first you've got that curve, which is the curve here, and then you've got that small curve that I don't really see in any other letter, which is that one. Try to get it S-shaped, actually S-shaped, so try to get the curve to do like this, you know, so like this. Again, I'm checking if you can actually see me right as I'm writing. Then T is basically this, right? That's what most calligraphers would agree on. That's the Palmer way to do it. Cross the T at the middle boringly. That's the Spencerian way to do it. Right? Cross the T at the top, which looks a bit fancier. And here's the way that I've seen a Reddit user called Terrible at Karaoke use, and I think that's a great way to cross your T's. It's to go have it hover like this, so you have that kind of round shape, and then have it cross. Loads of people can't actually read that. I've had many people tell me you don't cross your T's. So if you're looking for real readability, try to get those boring T crosses. If you're looking for fancy things, try to get that kind of thing. You know, I think we've seen it's basically two I's. V is an M shape first, and then you go back up like another M shape, but instead you do a loop like we've seen many times. W, it's basically the same, except you get at the middle, you get that I shaped, you know. So M, I, back to the M, I, or anything, and that loop. X is really weird to write. That's the way Spencer would teach, right? You go up, then you go with the slant, and then you go back. Very obvious round curls here, and then you cross it, so like this. Very obvious curves, cross it. Here's the one I do because I don't really like that kind of feeling. I just make this a lot. I make them curly as well, but instead of going back with the slant, I go forward on my X. So like this. It's a lot easier to cross. You don't really have to aim. It's a lot easier to understand. And anyway, you're not going to use the X a lot. Y is an M shape, I shape, and then go down for a reversed L shape. And finally Z, or Z. M shape, you go down like you're gonna draw a P as in the thing you eat. Not, I'm never gonna get myself out of this. Here you go, and then finish with the reverse L. So you've got most of the alphabet. It's not very readable, so I'm just gonna quickly rewrite it. I'm not actually following my own advice. I'm doing some really obvious loops, and my M looks like U's. But here you go. You get the idea. VW. You'll see a lot of people writing the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. That's a cool thing to do, except that after a while you just get bored of it. So you won't see me do that now. But if you want to get into the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, that's also a cool way to test your handwriting. So basically that's it. I'm just going to add the second possible letters just so you understand. They are here. So you can just look back at this for in case you've forgotten how to write one of these things. Another one I've seen for the E is this shape. It's especially useful for the end of a word. So if you're writing le, again, Reddit's favorite word, up. And then because it finishes in such a curve, you can get nice flourishes out of it, right? And yeah, you've got the different ways to cross a T. And that's it. You've done most of it. So this is Minuscule. I'm probably gonna upload a thread where you can show how much of an improvement you've done. So first, be sure to take a picture of your handwriting before you improve it, so I can actually see that there's any difference at all in your handwriting with the course I made. But yeah, that's it. That's the minuscule letters. And next time, hopefully, if YouTube doesn't hate me too much for the 20-minute video, we'll be looking at uppercase letters. And then I'll have a last video on really fancy things like numbers and flourishes and how to make your writing just look a little bit cooler. So yeah, old time gentlemen, out.